Meeting of the Waxahachie Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Please let the record show we have 5 trustees in attendance, and this meeting has been duly called, and notice of this meeting has been duly posted for time and manner required by law. First item on our agenda will be our budget workshop number 4. Mr. Calden.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Board and Ms. McCutcheon. As stated, we are doing budget workshop number 4 this afternoon. And get all my little stuff together here. Okay, so quick overview of the agenda. We've got a couple of topics that we'll talk as we go through this workshop, but more importantly, let's just get right to it. Current year budget update. Board, right now, we are looking like a pretty balanced year. We've had some things kind of creep up here at the last little bit. Tonight, you'll hear a request for additional student devices as part of Senate or House Bill 1481. That's a good chunk of change that we were not otherwise planning, that was otherwise going to go to fund balance that we'll be needing to spend to be in compliance with state law. You'll see the percent of expenditures. This is assuming that we don't add any money to fund balance as it currently sits with next year's projected budget. We're sitting right about 22.4%, which would be about 82 days of fund balance on hand to hit operating expenditures for the next year. So a little bit below our target. Our target would be roughly 90 days, and I would even caution you or implore you as we go into Waxahachie Creek High School. This was just kind of a quick listing, a quick overview of positions I could think of off the top of my head, but that 25%, that 90 days really we would benefit from it being a little bit higher to be over that 25 days because we fully anticipate that we will probably be looking at a deficit budget in the year of opening Waxahachie Creek, just giving the personnel involved with opening a new campus, especially a high school campus. Identifying our budget priorities. Board, you helped us back in March with identifying our priorities and you affirmed them back in June, but that is to grow fund balance, and at minimally adopting a balanced budget, and then staff salary increases for all of our staff. We had also presented at the time that we had some improvements we'd like to make to the Lumpkins practice field. Those improvements are on hold as we talk about going through this budget, but that is what we took from you as our priorities, and that's what we've been working on with our budget. Give you an idea of enrollment expectations. So this year, about Snapshot Day, we were sitting just under 11,200 students. Next year at Snapshot, we expect to be about 11,600 students. So that's roughly a 400 student increase. But I tell you every year when we go through this budget process, we are not paid by enrolled students. We're paid by average daily attendance. So we do not budget plus 400 when we go through and we set the budget. I will fully admit that this year we're taking a pretty cautious approach. I only increased the budget for about 250 ADA this year. Again, trying to build a little bit of a gap, a little bit of a delta, so that we have a little bit healthier fund balance as we get into that opening of Waxahachie Creek. Overall, local revenue is expected to decrease in the general fund alone about a little over 7.25%. A lot of this is spurred by the increase in the homestead exemptions. So if you remember last year, we had an increase in the homestead exemption that the community voted on in November of 2024. So right in the middle of this fiscal year. When we were presenting the budget information to you, we assumed that we were assuming current known budget at that point, current known $40,000 homestead exemption. Legislature went ahead and told us with the passage of this bill to increase the homestead exemption, plan on it being approved. I want to tell you last time was in greater than 80% approval on that homestead increase. So the legislature told us to go ahead and assume that it's going to be approved in what you're budgeting. So you are seeing the homestead exemption increase twice go into the impact of local revenue. So that's why you're seeing such a large, drastic decrease in that local revenue percent gain. Increase in state revenue. As local revenue goes down, especially through property values, you see an increase in state revenue. And then we've talked before about federal revenue. The only general fund federal revenue that we have is the SHARS program, the School Health and Related Services. And we've seen a significant decrease from about $2.5 million to about $100,000 in our SHARS revenue. So last year, We wrote the budget down from $2.5 million to about $1 million, and this year we're writing it down again to about $100,000 to more better align the revenues that we are seeing in that SHARS program. Overall, we're expecting the general fund revenue to increase about 3.3%, and then at the top of that screen, you'll see that the expected student enrollment about 3.7%. So you're seeing that the general fund is not exactly keeping up with student enrollment. Part of the funding bills, funding formulas, but just something that we're going to continue to monitor and watch. So we just had a budget workshop 2 weeks ago. So what's changed since our last budget workshop? Since our last budget workshop, we have received our certified taxable values from the appraisal district. So at the time of our last meeting on the 28th, we got those certified values on the 25th. That was a Friday. That was actually the last Friday of our 4-day summer work schedule up here. So those numbers were not looked at until the 28th, and it was a little too late to be incorporating that into the budget workshop for that afternoon. So realistically, all of the information from our budget workshop was derived off of the certified estimate that we got at the end of April. So that's a really big change for us to know that our taxable values really are good and really are set at this point. We developed that initial salary proposal for you the week of the 21st, so going into that meeting on the 28th, and then we've researched and incorporated your suggestions for additional salary enhancements, and we'll talk about that later on tonight when we have our compensation plan in the regular meeting. So budget highlights. Priority 2, honoring and supporting staff. Board, this is based off of what you have already approved at that July 28th meeting. So we're looking at a $57,000 starting salary for our teachers and certified professionals. As you remember, back up until this current year, or well, up until the forthcoming year, teachers, librarians, counselors, and nurses have all been on the same schedule. They've all been on one scale. The legislature has decided that they're going to give additional funding for teachers only. So in our original proposal, we separate those two, teacher scale, librarian, counselor, nurse, and then we also add athletic trainers because they're certified professionals as well. So we have one scale for librarians, counselors, nurses, and athletic trainers, and then a separate scale for teachers. You asked us to, or you approved our increasing of the starting pay from $54,600 to $57,000. And so that's a significant increase that will keep our teachers and certified professional staff competitive with our surrounding districts. We proposed staff salary increases across the board. So every employee in the district, sans 2, are looking at an increase for next year. We are not proposing an increase for the superintendent. Board, you determine that on your own through that contract with the superintendent. And then because an adjustment was just made to administrative level 11, which will look like administrative level 7 in our new pay scales, because that increase was just determined by the board, there is no increase for that step forward next year. And then board, you also approved increasing the monthly health insurance contribution from $245 per participating employee to $300 per month per participating employee starting with the 25-26 school year. The plan that was approved at July also had a 5% increase for all staff on the auxiliary, paraprofessional, clerical, or professional pay scales, and then a 3% increase for staff on the administrative pay scale. Right now, board, if you or anyone else goes out and looks at our pay scales, we have professional and we have administrative on the same pay scale. So to make it easier for our staff, we are going to separate those for the coming school years. And so that's why you will see professional pay scale and certified professional pay scale. So not to be confusing, but we wanted to provide more clarity for our staff in terms of who has an approved 5% increase and who would be on that approved 3% increase. Additionally, while it is good to honor and support our staff, we also need to respect priority 4, which is our financial integrity. We continue utilizing the Cardonics program to ensure that our staffing is appropriate at our secondary campuses. We are generally returning our campus staffing to more of a pre-COVID allocations to help improve our efficiency. That's where a lot of our budget reduction staffing work has come from the past year, is getting back to those pre-COVID allocations. Looking at allocating some budget this coming year for improvements to the FAC, the Fine Arts Center that's over at the Coleman Building, and the PAC, the Performing Arts Center that's at Waxahachie High School, and then also start putting some funds away so that we can replace turf fields as they come to their end of life cycle. So you remember back with The completion of Waxahachie High School, there's a lot of turf fields out at Waxahachie High, but we also replaced the turf at Lumpkin Stadium in that same year with the opening of Waxahachie High. So those all have finite life cycles. As we get to the end of those, we'd like to be able to use actual district funds, fund balance, to do that instead of asking for a bond from the community. And then we're budgeting an increase right now in the fund balance, about $100,000 for 25-26. Again, not fully budgeting all of the additional or potential student growth. We'd like to see that happen and see the attendance actually back that up, but there is room for additional revenue increase from that end. So we're trying to be conservative, make sure that we can live within our means, but also make sure that we are not over counting revenue before it actually occurs. Give you a general idea of what the proposed budgets look like. About a $128.45 million in revenues and expenditures. You will see a little bit of a variance right now. It's $89,000 difference between revenues and expenditures. So we are to the good, about $89,000. And so again, we're targeting about $100,000 increased fund balance. You'll see our salary and benefits are still hovering around 85%. Overall, we talk every year about that's a little bit high. Generally, anywhere between 80 to 85 is where you'll see most school districts. So we're on the higher end of that range, which we're still in the range, but we're a little bit on the high end of that range. And then you kind of see the other major categories between contracted services, supplies, other expenditures, capital outlays. Most of those are not significant in and of their own as you're looking at them as a whole with the general fund budget. $8.2 million in contracted services is significant, yes, but compared to $109 million in salaries and wages, not exactly the most significant number on the screen. For the debt service fund board, we asked for your approval back in June, to issue $100 million of additional funds for Proposition B to take advantage of a hold harmless that was written into state law. So with that, you will see that our debt service fund is a little bit upside down for next year, but not to worry. Our debt service fund balance right now is about $13 million, and so a $1.2 million draw off of debt service really is fine. Our financial advisor tells us that debt service fund balance really needs to be about $6 or $7 million. So we do have some flexibility, which will allow us to continue exploring refunding and possibly early redemptions of some of our outstanding debt as we go forward. So that's why we like that fund balance number in there. But a $1.2 million draw on it for next year is not a crippling number that we're looking at for the debt service fund. Child Nutrition Fund overall is balanced. It's about $5.9 million both in revenues and expenditures. I truly believe that revenue number may be a little bit low. And if it is, that will help with some of the equipment replacement within the Child Nutrition Fund as they continue to operate. But right now, we're being a little bit conservative and kind of going with the revenues that we've seen this current year. And so within the Child Nutrition Fund, we are not asking for any increases in student meal prices for the 25-26 school year. Property valuations and tax rates. Board, this is the one requirement that we have to go through every year for our first rating, is to make sure that you have had an update on property values before you adopt the budget. So this year, our 2025 certified freeze-adjusted taxable value is about $8.3 billion. Last year's certified freeze-adjusted taxable values were about $8 billion, so an increase of $265 million, or about 3%. These are adjusted for the increase in the homestead exemption. So what impact did that homestead exemption play? If you look at the total market value, this year's total market value is about $15.2 billion for Waxahachie ISD. Last year's was about $14.3 billion. So you see an increase in total market value of about $880 million, but freeze-adjusted taxable values increase is only about $265 million. So the increase in the homestead exemption is having about a $500 million impact on those freeze-adjusted taxable values in Waxahachie ISD. With that, our increase, the 3.3% increase in freeze-adjusted taxable values, is below the state expectation. I want to tell you this year was about 5.2% across the state. So we are proposing to leave our M&O and INS tax rates level from where they are currently. So you'll see no change and the 75.52 for the M&O rate and the 41.29 on the INS rate. Total tax rate of $1.1681 per $100 in valuation. Again, that would be unchanged for the 25 year from the 24 year. To give you a 10-year rate trend, back in 2016-17, you would see our total tax rate of $1.5539, and it has come down primarily through compression required by the state legislature to $1.1681, and that's the proposed rate for 25-26. So almost a 40-cent decrease in that tax rate, a little over 39-cent decrease over the last 10 years. Next steps to budget adoption. Tonight, board, we will talk as one of our action items about Robin Hood or excess revenues from the state. So we were recently notified by the state that we are on pace to be a Robin Hood district where we will have recapture. That's not new. We've been in recapture this year. We've been in recapture at least 1 year before that as well. The difference is this year our recapture bill is close to $800,000. Next year we expect it to be closer to $500,000, about $500,000. Again, that's the impact of the increase in the homestead exemption and the fact that those taxable values, freeze adjusted taxable values, are not growing as fast as our student enrollment is. We have 5 options to remedy our excess revenue with TEA. I would tell you that 3 of these are permanent solutions to a temporary problem. Number 1, consolidate with another district, and number 2, detach territory, and number 5, tax-based consolidation with another district. These are all permanent solutions to a temporary problem as it relates to excess revenue and recapture. Realistically, board, we have focused on option 3, which is purchase attendance credits from TEA. That's what we have done in the past couple of years with recapture. That will be the recommendation later tonight when we get to that part of the agenda. And then we also have the ability to educate non-resident students. As a reminder, and for our community, we will have a public hearing for the budget and tax rate. It will start at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, August 26th, right here in the boardroom at 411 North Gibson. At that point, board, you will hear a lot of the information that you just heard, but we will invite the public to give their input as well as part of the public hearing. Board, that same night, you'll be asked to vote to adopt the budget and to adopt the tax rates for the 25-26 fiscal year, and then the budget will take effect on September 1, 2025-26, and that will be the last holiday that the budget gets for the rest of the year. Punny joke, punny joke. Any questions or comments that I can answer or questions I can answer or comments you would like to make with regard to this budget update for this year? Yes,
I've
ma'am.
got a question. What's the price tag for the improvements to the FAC, PAC, and turf?
So right now, there's not a specific project that we're looking at doing. What we're trying to do is put some money aside so that when those improvements need to be made, whether it is replace the carpet at the FAC or PAC or technology upgrades or any other projects that would happen at either facility, that we have some money set aside so that we can do that without asking the public for a bond.
So how
that's
much
really
money is that?
Honestly, I don't know, because I don't know what the projects are at this point. Pulling up the carpet and replacing the carpet is going to be a significant sum, but we haven't priced it because we're not at the point that we need to replace the carpet over at the FAC. In terms of stage curtains, I'll tell you those at an elementary run about $35,000 per campus. So at a much larger facility like the FAC or PAC, it's going to be significantly more. I just don't know how much more at this point because both are in relatively good shape and do not need to be replaced.
Ryan, the FAC is getting replaced this summer.
Do you remember the amount?
No, I don't.
So
I know the FAC is getting
the
replaced.
FAC stage curtain is actually getting replaced as part of Proposition C, and I'd forgotten that point. But this is to set some money aside so that the next time it needs to be replaced, or replacing chairs within the seating at the FAC, or painting or any other upgrades that we'd like to make, that we have a little bit of extra money to help do those things without asking the public for another bond.
Thank you.
It's like a deferred maintenance program.
Essentially a deferred maintenance program. The last time that we replaced the turf at Lumpkins, I want to tell you it was about $460,000. So if we put, our plan right now in the budget is to put $300 aside and dedicate about $50,000 for PAC and FAC, and then about $250 for turf. So a couple of years of that would get us the turf at Lumpkins, but we also know that we have at least 3 football-sized fields of turf over at the high school, in addition to softball, in addition to the baseball fields that are over there. So it's really just trying to put a down payment towards some deferred maintenance.
Mr. Collin, how
Yes, ma'am.
often do we need to replace those fields? What's the
So-
maintenance life on those?
Yeah, great question. Generally, those turf fields are going to wear out faster with use. So the more heavily used they are, the more quickly they're going to need to be replaced. There's always a finite life cycle on them. We do our concussion impact test to make sure that it's still a safe playing field for our student athletes. But the ones that are in the outdoor fields are going to degrade faster than an indoor field just because of the UV. So, Ms. Kriegel, the answer to your question generally is going to depend by field, but you're going to be looking anywhere from 8 to probably 15 years for any of those fields. And I would tell you Lumpkins is probably closer to the 8 to 10 year side, and some of those practice fields at WHS are probably going to be closer to the 12 to 15 years, just depending on the frequency of use that they're going to run up against.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So you said for this year, it's about $300,000, is that right?
Yes. So for 25, 26, yes, our plan is to put about 300,000 in that deferred maintenance pool.
Does that answer your question, Ms. Timmerman? I think that was the number you were looking for, right? Okay. Anyone else? Questions, comments?
Thank
Okay.
you, Mr. Collin.
Thank you very much, sir.
for
Thank
all the
you.
work on this.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So if there were no other questions or comments, I guess we'll conclude our budget workshop. Now the board will convene into closed section according to section 551.001 et sec of the Texas Government Code. It is now 4:22. It is now 4:52. The board's going to reconvene back into open session. Our first item will be our invocation given by Mr. Cooper, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the state pledge by Oliver Bowden and Anthony Bowden.
Let us pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this board meeting and all that has taken place in anticipation of this up-and-coming school year. Father, we pray that you would help us to continue to make the best decisions in regards to our school and our communities, Father. Father, bless the teachers, the students, and all staff as they prepare for this school year. And Father, again, in any area that we've erred, we ask that you correct us. And we thank you for the ability to be able to serve. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Thank God, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Next item on our agenda is our open forum. I not believe we have anyone signed up to speak tonight, so we're going to go a little bit out of order. We're going to move straight to our action items, which would be action item A, which would be consideration with possible approval of policy FNCE local. Mr. Cagle.
Good evening, Board. Ms. McCutcheon, as we discussed at the last school board meeting, and certainly been a popular topic around the state, our policy here prohibiting the use of personal communication devices during the school day. We reviewed this at the last board meeting, and remember to remind everyone we are only prohibiting the use, not the possession of these items, and there are certain exceptions given to students that might have an IEP, a 504, or other emergency situations. So we are asking for the board's approval for this policy change this evening. Any questions?
Anything from Mr. Cagle? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item A as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Timmerman,
Second.
second by Mr. Pitts. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much, Board.
Okay, action item B, consideration with possible action to delegate contractual authority to obligate the school district under Texas Education Code TEC 11.151 C number 4 to the superintendent for the 2025-2026 school year solely for the purpose of obligating the district under TEC 48.257 and TEC Chapter 49, Subchapter A and D, and the rule adopted by the Commissioner of Education as authorized under TEC 49.006, including approval of the agreement for the purchase of attendance credits netting Chapter 48 funding. Mr. Calden.
Sir, I don't know that your mic was on. Can you do that again? Just kidding. Board, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier in the budget workshop, but we have received notice from TEA of the likelihood of the district receiving revenue in excess of our entitlement limits. Otherwise, we are subject to recapture. We talked previously that we believe that our recapture bill for next year will be about $500,000. And again, we have 5 options upon which to satisfy this excess local revenue. We can consolidate with another district. We can detach territory from our district and send it to another district, and tax-based consolidation with another district. Again, all 3 of these appear to be permanent solutions to a temporary problem. I say temporary because as our student population grows, if our taxable values do not grow at the same pace, we can see that recapture bill actually decrease. And then with a change in state law, specifically the basic allotment, we can also see that recapture bill reduce as well. The 2 options that we have left are purchase of average daily attendance credits or education of non-resident students. With that, board, the recommendation of administration is to purchase average daily attendance credits from TEA, and this is consistent with what we've done for all of our years as a recapture district.
Questions or comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to delegate contractual authority to obligate the school district under Texas Education Code TEC 11.1511C4 to the superintendent for the 25-26 school year solely for the purpose of obligating the district under TEC 48.257 and TEC Chapter 49, subchapters A and D, and the rule adopted by the Commissioner of Education as authorized under TEC 49.006, including approval of the agreement for the purchase of attendance credit, netting Chapter 48 funding.
A motion by Mrs. Kriegel. Second by Mr. Cooper. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Golden. Moving on to action item C, will be consideration with possible action to approve the modified 2025-2026 compensation plan for WISD.
All right, board, want to just kind of walk through, and Ms. Burkhalter's gonna join me, and we're gonna kind of tag team it. So just as a reminder, at the July 28th meeting, you approved all staff to receive a pay increase. You adjusted the starting salary for teachers on one scale, librarians, counselors, nurses, and athletic trainers on a newly created scale to have a starting salary of $57,000. This is anywhere from a 3.74% increase to an 8.48% increase for those along those scales. You also approved a 5% increase for all employees on the auxiliary, clerical, paraprofessional, and professional pay scales, and a 3% increase for all current employees on the administrative pay scale. As a reminder, no increase for employees on pay step 7 of the administrative scale, and no increase for the superintendent, as that is determined within her contract. You also approved an increase in the health insurance contribution from $245 per month to $300 per month per participating employee. At that same meeting, the motion requested that we research and look into some additional options for potential additional staff salary increases. And so we would like to kind of give you an update on where we were with those additional increases. So one request was to increase from 5% to 8%, the increase for auxiliary, clerical, paraprofessional, and professional pay. That would have a net cost of about $740,000 to the district. We also had a request to look at the teacher scale and librarian, counselor, nurses, and athletic scale. What am I looking for? Trainers, thank you. I don't know why I'm blanking. To increase those 2 scales with a starting pay of $58,000. That would have a cost increase of roughly $300,000. And then an increase for all directors by an extra $1,000. That had an increase of approximately $20,000. And then an increase to the admin pay scale of an additional 1% to take it from a 3% to a 4% increase, and that would have a roughly $140,000 cost to it. Board, just my job is to advise you, so the realities of additional compensation. That would create a deficit budget situation for us. for 25-26. And like we talked about in the workshop, I do believe it is our best foot going forward if we can start increasing fund balance to help offset some of the fiscal impact of opening Waxahachie Creek High School. I will tell you, this is kind of more me personally, but I do have some real concerns about the consistency and stability of our state funding going forward. We know that our legislature generally has limits on the appropriations, but they also received a lot of federal money that they were able to appropriate out for this biennium. What we have seen so far from Washington is less of an environment which they are wanting to send those federal dollars to states. So I do anticipate that we're going to see a little bit of a pullback, specifically in federal dollars that are available to our legislature. So absent really, really significant growth, I don't believe we're going to be in a real surplus position going forward as a state. And we all know that education makes up the largest pie of the state budget in any biennium, anywhere from 40 to roughly 42% of the state discretionary spending is on education. So there are some concerns with that. A lot of the funds that got sent through this year are through the use of allotments. We know that at any point the state could put a cap on how much money it's going to spend in that allotment. It could also remove that allotment. So those are all things that going forward with the absence of those federal dollars from a state budget perspective, that would be my concern with looking at enhanced additional compensation spending for the next school year. So administratively, my recommendation to you would be to keep the board-approved compensation plan that was approved already at July, and then reject additional staff compensation for the 25-26 school year.
So I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
So if it creates a budget deficit for 25-26, it would probably be one for 26-27 as well.
Likely, yes, sir.
I mean, they're not going to be another legislative session, so unless we had a huge increase in enrollment.
So realistically, there would be a couple of ways that we could solve that. One would be, yes, a significant increase of enrollment. That would be about the only revenue side that would actually change with that. The other side would be to look at expenditures again. We know that our expenditures, we've gone through the Budget Reduction Committee now twice for 2 different years. They have not been the most popular of moves, but they've been moves to try to set us up for that consistency and for that longevity as a district with all of our expenditures. The only other place, sir, that we would have to look if we adopt a deficit this year would be to look hard and fast at those expenditures again and make even deeper cuts.
Thank you.
Mr. Calden, when I talked with you about this, I was led to believe that we could do this budget and it still have a positive budget or whatever, not have a negative budget. And through contingencies, has that changed since last week?
Yeah, great question. So, Ms. Kriegel, one thing that I don't like doing is coming up here with a first run look at things. And so as we continued working, myself and the payroll department, as we continued working through it, we noticed that not everything that we had budgeted was pulling into Skyward. And so that created a new fiscal reality for us when we went back and reconciled our numbers. We had 2 different reports, or 2 different numbers on reports. So we finally got that solved in a total capacity. And so now that we have new numbers where every employee is pulling into the actual budget for next year, it did change that landscape for us. And so yes, we are looking at a balanced budget at this point without heavy contingencies for us to be able to pull from to do the additional increases.
Can you go back to the cost? Yeah. I don't know why we should be forced, just because the state made up their mind that librarians, nurses, and counselors don't fit with teachers, I don't see why we should do that. We've always had them on the same scale.
Yes, ma'am.
And I still think that we need to raise our starting pay to $58,000. And I haven't changed my mind. I don't want a deficit budget, but I want to treat our people right too.
Absolutely.
Mr. Calden?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not seeing, or I didn't see the appropriation of all the extra monies that we did get from the state. You know, I know that they're not coming till whatever September, but we do, I do believe that we will be getting extra funding through all the different bills.
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
So a lot of this would be covered by that. Am I
So
correct?
it could be covered by parts of it. To your point, we have, with the proposed going to 57 and with the proposed 5% and 3%, we have exhausted all of the required spend on staff pay increases. So our teacher and staff will see the $5,000 if they have 5 or more years of experience that was expected by the state, and our teaching staff with at least 3 years will see that $2,500 increase as expected by the state. The allotment that we got for the support staff was $45 per ADA, which generally works into about $300,000. So a 3% increase on that scale is about $740,000. So we've exceeded the expectations of the state with that support staff allotment. So we're also eating into the increase to the basic allotment. We're also eating into the allowance for basic cost. Is that, yeah, ABC, allowance for basic cost. So we are keeping some of that aside for increased property insurance, because we know we've added Wyoming in the middle of the year. So we will have insurance coverage for that. We are expecting a minor rate increase, like 5% on our premiums for insurance. We hope that it will be negligible, or it will be no increase in addition to the coverage of Wyoming. But we are pulling a little bit of funds to make sure that we have coverage for those unknown costs at this point. We anticipate that we will get our workers' comp premium and our property casualty premium this week or next, so that we can bring that to you. So, Ms. Kriegel, in all reality, we are trying to put as much money as we can and be fiscally responsible towards staff increases, because we know that that's a priority. That was identified to us back in March. Actually, it was identified to us last year, but we are taking it to heart and trying to put as much money as we can to it.
So I guess in real numbers, how much of a hit are we taking above what the state has given us? And I understand that the state has not given us enough, and they have not given us anything to impact inflation or anything else. They did not give us enough. But how much of a hit are we taking to our general fund if we?
So in reality, at the last budget meeting, we talked about the additional monies from the state. If we took all of those allotments to be about 3.1 million, this compensation increase is about 6.4 million across the board. So those monies that we told you that we were using as part of our budget reduction subcommittee work last year and this year, you're seeing that being reinvested back into our existing staff that we have going forward. So I would love for it to be larger. I would love for that to be a more significant number. But we're moving our budget from about, we had 124 million adopted budget last year. The number is really closer to 119 once you have the additional homestead exemption. Because again, remember we budgeted last year based off of the known, not the expected. So we budgeted the 124 based off of local property values. Those we are not going to collect anywhere near what we thought we were going to. That's going to be about a $6 million hit on the local revenues for the 24-25 school year. So realistically, when we start taking that out, you're seeing a $3 million increase from 124 that was approved last year to 127, but we also know that we're not going to collect all of that money that we had in local revenues. Some of that will be offset by additional revenues from the state government because of lower property values subject to taxation. And then the other big hit in that is we're writing down our SHARS revenue by $900,000 for next year to more appropriately match what we're actually collecting. So there are some readjustments and realignments in there, but Ms. Kriegel, overall to your question, we are spending more than the state is giving us on staff increases for next year with the plan that you've already approved.
And what about the difference in all of the cuts that the Budget Reduction Committee made? Because I know that we're running a very tight ship with all the cuts that the Budget Reduction Committee made.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a huge thing that they agreed, the principals, people agreed that they would take those hits and work at a very tight ship with the understanding it would go to salaries. And so I'm not seeing that.
Well, so the state gave us about 3.1 million for all of the various allotments that they gave us. And then we talked about 1.6 million was our best guess for the Budget Reduction Committee information. But we also know that a lot of those positions were repurposed. And so those were not really like a reduction in force. We did not necessarily get rid of staff. A lot of those positions got reassigned within. And then we also know that we have plenty of positions within special education that we've been unable to fill, and we're actually turning to contractors at this point to help fill those positions.
Go back to that they were repurposed, but weren't they taking positions, were there new positions created, or were they taking a position that was left open?
The people who were initially repurposed or reassigned, they were taking open positions, yes. But we've also had students moving in over the course of the summer that have necessitated additional separate setting classrooms and one-on-one settings throughout the district. And so those are some of the positions that have been created with some of those other positions that we were vacating in the past. So if we had an FTE that was open, take all of our elementary librarians that are being converted into or being phased into A positions, the savings from that would add up to an FTE that has been now used within special education for a special setting placement or for a one-on-one aid. So we've tried our best to save as many of those as we can, but some of those are actually turning into needed staff positions as we go.
And then I'm not gonna say one last question, so next year, when there is a new funding formula that the state is going to increase, and so we should receive a lot more money for special ed next year because of all these specific causes. So we would receive a lot more money because of you said we had a really high percentage special ed, and that was one of the issues.
Yeah, so for special education, we're going to more of a services-based model of funding. I have not seen the draft at this point to know what that revenue might look like. It is my understanding that it should yield more revenue for the district based off of the special placements of our students. But right now, I don't even have any information to give you a guess on what that might look like.
Ryan, if we vote to do this, you said we got 82 days in the fund balance. How many days would that take us down to?
So this would add another $1 million or so to the budget. So that would take the budget to 129.5. So that fund balance expectation would be 32.3. We currently have 28.5-ish. That's not what I wanted to do. 32 and 28 is 4. So I would be short about 4 million out of fund balance in terms of getting to that 90 days. Because I have about 28.5 right now, and I would need about 32.3. So a little bit, about 3.7 million. And then that 3.7, we wanted to put that into days. I don't think that's the right number. It's not 10,000 days.
Well, if you did it now, it's going to create a budget deficit again for next year,
Yes, sir.
right?
That would be the expectation.
That would be the expectation. And then the following year, when we're going to be opening a new high school, we're already projecting to be at a budget deficit, which would make it even bigger, barring any divine intervention from the state, which I'm not expecting that to happen.
Yes, sir.
On top of the fact that we're already 8 days short of being in our 90-day recommendation of the fund balance. So theoretically, we're going the opposite direction, and we should be going up, we'll be going down.
Agreed. I mean, that would be the way I would look at that, yes, sir, is that this would be creating that long-term expectation of continued pay and or improvement to pay going forward. And so it's a deficit this year, barring some significant turnaround, either additional revenue that we're not expecting because it's not a legislative year, or some other cuts to expenditures, this would create a continued expectation of a deficit budget going forward.
Debbie mentioned, I think at our last meeting, and I agree with her, she'd like to see Waxahachie at the top of that list amongst our peers around the area, but everybody's budget's different, so it just depends on what we're dealing with. You've kept us in a very good financial position for a long time, and I think it'd be foolish to not take your advice on what we have coming and what we expect as far as the new high school and the positions and whatnot, with the historical record you've had to, when you're in this thing every day and you've lived it for, what, 10 plus years?
Yes, sir.
So I would definitely, even though I want the teachers to get paid as good as they can, I think it'd be foolish to not take your advice.
I appreciate that.
Mr. Calden,
Yes, sir.
the money that we got from the state this year, or that's coming, that's only for 2 years. So the same year that we could be opening Creek High School, it could be a completely different funding formula, and it could be a completely different situation.
Yes, sir.
So just because we're getting that money the next 2 years doesn't mean we'll be getting it in the future. And
So-
I would like to say that we'd get more, but as Mr. President said, we can't count on the legislature to do that for us. But in your estimation, this is just what impact, so let's, Waxahachie High School, let's just say, how much of our budget is that today?
So Waxahachie
Estimate,
High
that's
School is
a-
about a sixth of our total budget overall for that, somewhere between a fifth and a sixth. Just on personnel side, it's over $20 million at Waxahachie High School alone. That's not the operational, that's not the utilities, that's not the insurance, that's not their campus allocation. Just personnel alone is over $20 million at Waxahachie High. So $124, $127 million budget. It's roughly 1/6. You add in some of the other stuff that are going to go with that campus as well, you might be in the 1/5 range.
So when we open Creek, I mean, in the beginning, it won't be
Yes,
that big of an impact, but it's going to be a pretty significant hit that we need to be prepared for.
Yeah, absolutely. With our expectation of having all 4 grades within 3 years of opening, you're going to have some inefficiencies. And just all cards on the table, we're going to be inefficient at Creek and we're going to be inefficient at WHS. Some of those positions you just have to have. 500,000 square foot building, you're going to have 20-something custodians, whether you've got 100 kids there or 3,000 kids there. That building is still going to have to be maintained, still going to have to be cleaned. So will we be inefficient when we open? Absolutely. We do anticipate that some of those students will lead to efficiencies in staffing. We know that we will have some staff at Waxahachie High that will be able to go to Waxahachie Creek that will save us from necessarily having to hire in a completely redundant staff at Waxahachie Creek High School. We will have, with reduced enrollment, we will have some positions that can be transferred to Waxahachie Creek. But we also expect in a growing district that both campuses are going to see enrollment growth, and so we are going to be filling those positions again before too long. And so, our last expectation from a demographer was that in about 10 years, we'd be getting to about 2037 or so, and we might be looking at a third comprehensive high school at that point. So it's not going to be a long-term delta of inefficiencies, but to your point, sir, there will be some growing into, and there are going to be some positions, and some of those are not dependent on student enrollment. Some of those are going to be all up front, and then there will be some other positions, counselors, et cetera, that will be based off of student enrollment that we will grow into.
Thank you. And I would kind of want to echo Mr. McCutcheon. I mean, our teachers are some of the hardest working, and I thank them every day for what they do, because I can't imagine doing it. But I appreciate everything they do, and I appreciate what everybody in our district does. And I want to give everyone more money. But we have to stay sustainable, and I know other districts are doing it, but let's see where they are in a couple of years, and let's see where we are. So I appreciate you for getting us to where we are.
Mr. Calden, I don't know that we've checked, but I'd like to know how the surrounding districts are able to maintain salaries that are superior to us, because I don't know what they've done, but we need to not hit where the rubber meets the road, and that's with the classroom teacher and with the kids. And increasing class sizes and everything that the Budget Reduction Committee has tried, I mean, that's not where we need to cut. We need to be looking at, I don't know. I don't know how Ennis and Midlothian and Red Oak have better salaries than us. But I know what happened, because we haven't passed a budget increase, a salary increase for the last 3 years. And they have, and with positive budgets. So, or some of them with positive budgets. So it's very confusing, and I am not for a negative budget. I have been involved with this for a long time, and I totally understand. But I also understand that things are pretty desperate out there, and we need, I'm going to stand on that we need to look at what's happening to our staff with inflation and everything. Now, I totally have fight it in the legislature, as you well know, but anyway, that's where I stand.
Ms. Kriegel, I can answer your question just pertaining to the districts, the superintendents that I have talked to. And the ones that have been able to be in balanced budgets have basically not, they've reduced their number of staff. They've not hired back through attrition. They've redistributed duties. And one specific superintendent told me, feeling the crunch of that because increased class sizes and more duties for everyone that they do have on staff. So that's just one district that I spoke to, surrounding district, that did let me know how they've given the raises. And they gave minimal raises this year.
Maybe a good idea. Some people are willing to do more if they make more. But I also want to appreciate you, Mr. Carter, and your staff. You guys have done great. It's tough. And Ms. Debbie, I want to appreciate you for having us look at this again. It's kind of hard to prioritize which one of these are more important than others. I mean, we want to be enticing, and unfortunately, if it's going to take us in the negative, it doesn't seem to be the wisest decision. But I do want to say that if we move forward what we've already put in place, that we try our best to at least increase the one-time bonus. I get it, these salaries carry on year after year, but if we can find a way to increase that one-time bonus, I mean, let's do everything that we can do in order to try to make it happen. But again, I appreciate you.
Thanks, sir.
And Mr. Colden, I do appreciate all the work you and your staff have done on this. I'm a little bit shocked because the last conversation we had was that we could do it with a positive budget, and I don't understand that they ran numbers again, but unfortunately, this is bare minimum, and it still doesn't get us up to where the rest of the county is.
Just because I disagree doesn't mean I don't appreciate everything you've done. I just want more for our staff. They work hard. They've got so much to do, and just looking at Waxahachie, and we're the lowest paid one around us, that just doesn't sit with me very well. And the other things too, I'd really like to see, and I don't want a deficit budget. I don't run my own house that way. And I see what's going to happen, but I want to treat our staff fair too. So, you're caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yes, ma'am.
I think we all are. We all want to see our staff get more. And none of us want to go into a deficit. But I have to stick with the staff.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion pertaining to action item C.
Mr. President, I move that we affirm the 2025-26 staff compensation plan that was approved at the July 28th meeting and reject all proposals for additional staff compensation at this time.
I have a motion by Mr. McCutcheon. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Pitts. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-2. Thank you very much, Mr. Golden. Okay, action item D is going to be removed for consideration tonight. We're going to move that to our September meeting.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
I know that we've had all the town halls. Will we be able to have sufficient time to review the comments and concerns from those town halls?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we can make sure that you have those, and with your request to review, would you like a overview at the September meeting and then approve at some other point? Or do you want us to give you a chance to review those before we bring it back for even initial discussion with the board?
I'd like to have it before the board meeting
Okay.
in September.
Absolutely. Yeah, we will get those pulled together for you and get that out to you so that you have time to look it over.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, now will we go to our report section, which would be Report A, which would be the superintendent's report. Mr. McCutcheon?
Okay, thank you. This is my report for today, Monday, August 11th. We have been very busy the last couple of weeks preparing for the school year. We, at our Operation First Day of School and the Back to School Bash, our PR team did an amazing job of putting that together with numerous volunteers and different organizations. And there were over 10,000 pounds of food that was given away that day. We had 1,600 backpacks with supplies. There were over 500 hygiene and 750 packs of socks and / underwear that were given out. We were able to to provide 55 haircuts, and then there was a free book given to every student from our bookmobile. So it was a great event. We also held convocation, and again, big thank you to Oaks Church for allowing us to use their building. Coach Tollison gave an incredible speech. It was very inspiring, and he spoke on the power of influence and in believing in our students. That was a very uplifting message. And then we also had Back to School Sunday at the Oaks Church, and I was joined by 5 other surrounding school district superintendents, where we were able to honor one teacher from each school district, and the church graciously gave each one of those teachers a $500 gift card that they were very surprised with, and that was for supplies for their classroom or reimbursements, however they chose to use that. And so it was a great event. Now, in looking at enrollment, just as of today, and we do fully understand that this number could fluctuate based on new enrollees that are still coming in. There's still some potential no-shows that are still in the system. Either the parents have not enrolled in a different district, or that district has not requested records. So as of today, it is 11,403. Again, that number could change. If you remember, Mr. Calden's enrollment expectation for this year was 11,617. So 200 students shy of where we were originally expected to be. So we'll keep you updated on this. First day of school is Wednesday. We're really excited about that. A lot of preparation is going into the first day. That is so much going on at the campuses, even as you know, Meet the Teacher tonight. And we will have admin presence at each campus in the morning and also in the afternoon at pickup. So just to kind of help and see if there's anything that's needed at the campuses. So we're very excited about that. Did want to also let everyone know that accountability reports, this is for the 24 report that is for the 23-24 school year, and the 25 report is for from the 24-25 school year. Those accountability reports will be released publicly by TEA on August 15th. So those will be available to parents via the regular process that they access theirs as well. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
So it will be released to everyone on Friday?
Publicly, yes, ma'am. Yes.
So,
Anyone else?
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am. Okay, moving on to Report B, Informational Bond 2023 Construction Update. Mr. Mott.
Good evening, Board, and Ms. McCutcheon, here to give you your bond construction update for the month. I'm going to go over a little bit real quick over what we've done this last summer. This summer is a very busy summer for WISD in general. Everybody talks about the 2018 summer when we moved schools everywhere and all that. If I had my choice after this summer or going back through that summer, I'll go back to that summer any day of the week. Moving campuses is a lot more than what we did this summer. This summer we spent, as you can see there, we spent about $10 million in Prop C. Understand when I say a summer, we have 82 days from the end of school to the first day of the next school, as you can see that. 61 work days, 21 weekends. So you're looking at 61 days to do all of this work. Some will work on some Saturdays. You're not gonna get anybody very seldom work on Sundays. We have the last few weeks, but that's very rare. So you're looking at, you've got a very condensed time to do everything we do in the summer. Like I said, this summer was a very busy summer for WISD. 13 campuses had something done on them of some kind. So every campus but Jimmy Ray, Wildman Steam, Simpson, and WHS had something done on them this summer. So you had 3 campuses which were renovation, new construction. You had 10 campuses with renovations. All those 10 campuses would have been all through Prop C. We did do some Prop C on the other 3 campuses as well. I do want to say, to make this all happen, we had a great team throughout the whole district to help us all out. Those being George Wayne Mechanical, helped with plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. Harsh Flooring did some flooring, painting, ceiling tiles, bathroom remodel. Concord Commercial Services did some ceiling tiles, bathroom remodel. BTC, General Constructions and Renovations. WISD Support Services. We can't ever do anything this summer without them. They're one of the busiest people that you'll ever see all summer long. They stay busy all summer. So they helped us, all of them helped us out with moving furniture, picking up things. And then some of those people have been in our district, plumbers or like that, and they know where a valve is and no one else knows. When you're going to renovation, you get into these old buildings, you don't know where a water valve is, or all of a sudden they know because they've worked on it. But you just don't know otherwise. Those are critical knowledges. So they are a big part of what we did this summer. And I'm gonna say last release, you always see Mark Kliss listed down there on the end. He's sitting right back here on this. He doesn't know this is happening, so he wouldn't have been here if he did. He is a vital part of this job that I do and what he helps me with. Having 2 of us out in the district and doing what we can do, we can accomplish a lot more and look at a lot more things and get things done. And he is I thank him a lot for that. We're gonna go to Finley. There's a picture of the front of Finley. Finley's about 98% complete. Finley and Howard both. You'll see this on both their slides. Their cafeteria projector and screen are not up. They did hit they weren't supposed to be here till the 15th. They did arrive on Saturday. Stage lights, stage sound system is not completed. BLK punched both Finley and Howard this afternoon, and the project as a whole did come in under budget for both of them. Here's your picture of the inside. This was yesterday in the serving line, and then here's your library for yesterday. Just looking there, and that's, again, that is at Finley. Here's Howard. Again, it's about 98% complete. You still have the punch list, the same things I mentioned earlier. Again, like I said, it did come in under budget. The picture you see there, that is of the new cafeteria, the addition on the cafeteria, and all that over there on that side. Here's a picture of the inside of the cafeteria. Here's a picture of the band hall that you can see there. It has all the winger cabinets for all the instruments, has all the sound protection, the flooring, and all that. That was as we were moving instruments and so forth into the storage room and all that. We go to Waxahachie Creek. Last week we poured the first slab. Was poured last Wednesday night or Thursday night? Wednesday night, I believe it was. Last week we poured about 750 cubic yards of concrete. We had 2 pours. This week we're going to have 4 pours. We're pouring tonight at 1, tomorrow night at 1, the next day at 5, and Thursday night at 1. We'll start all those. We're going to pour about 18 cubic yards of concrete. To understand that is 180 concrete trucks that you see driving down the road. We're pouring in 4 nights this week. So there'll be a lot of concrete going on out there. We have moved up steel. It looks like it's going to be about 4 to 6 weeks early. Right now we're expecting to hit the ground about September 8th. The first crane is arriving anytime. They'll start putting it together. They'll go through all the safety and all that, have it ready by September 8th when the steel arrives. It is a very large crane. It's 250 feet tall. So it will be a large crane. Everybody will know we're doing something out there then if they don't know by that time. The long-term plan is to have 2 when we get down to it, but we got to get to that point where we have enough room that we can be running 2 at one time. Right now you see the utility progress about 60% complete of the water throughout the 85% on the storm, 90% sewer, and then 75% on the fire level. The picture you see there on the right, that was taken last Friday afternoon when they flew the drone last Friday. They did fly it this morning. I was not able to get another picture before this afternoon got in. I just hadn't a chance to look at it. You'll have another overview here. You can see there's an overview from the north west corner looking down. The area you see there on the white, that is the concrete slab that is poured. That's basically the administration area. The white you see is actually the blankets to help dry it out slower. The area there on the right, it is ready to pour. They're seeing if they can get a little bit more. And then we'll have a lot of grade beams. We're starting to pour. You can see in the top right, you can see a little bit of a white strip there. That's the first part of paving. That's coming off one of the parkings coming off of, or drives coming off of Spur 394. And that'll be part of the front parent loop that will go there. That'll be the first paving we pour. We'll pour 2 more sections of that this week and get us about 3/4 of the way through that paving. We're gonna have to have it and a little bit coming off of Old Italy Road so we can go vertical. So that's why we're seeing that loop going is because we'll start to go vertical on that. I believe we're probably gonna go vertical first in that yellow area that'll be poured this week. That'll be the first one that we'll go vertical with in that area. Here's a picture on the top left. Them working that slab right there. That slab was administration area. If you want to know, that was what we did pour is that administration area. And then that's the top 2 in the bottom there on the line, just so you can kind of see quite a few electrical lines running through the ditch to get electrical lines all through that building, from room to room, from room to other areas and all that. So it's not just a little line that everybody thinks, oh, we've got one line running through. You can see there's quite a bit going. Going to go to Prop C. We talked about this earlier in the year. This is what our plan was. It did pretty much come to how we planned. By the end of the summer, we're about 75% of what the original bond for Prop C was passed for. Original bond was passed for 419 line items. It was priorities 1 and 2 from a facilities walk that had been done, I believe, in late 21 or early 22 is when that facilities walk was done. That's what we did, priorities 1 through 4, but the bond was only for priority 1 and 2. So then we started to move into priorities 3 and 4 as we started to see savings. So now you see that 53%, that is for all 4 priorities and some things that we've added on to it. So that is now from 419 line items, we're looking at about 1,000 now at all times. We've spent this summer, as I said earlier, about $10 million spent this summer from the original, what it was originally budgeted during the bond. That 10 million was about 15. We saved about 5 million. Why? What do we do with that? That is how we're starting to look at priorities 3, priorities 4. Add extra things that we're seeing at a campus that may not have been on the priority, but needs to be, and we can do it while we have things going on. So this summer we did about 300 line items total between all 4 priorities and added on. We'll start looking at in September, Ryan, myself, Mark, Andy Reeves, Jeff Browning, we'll all sit down and look at what's left in priority 1 and 2. We'll look at priority 3 and 4 as well. And we'll start looking at what Jeff Browning's been doing, walking with all the campuses, looking at them and talking to principals as to what their needs are on their campuses. So we'll start looking at all that to start to look at what we can do during the school year on breaks and what we'll start to plan for next summer. Because some of these projects, you want to get it where we can hit the job, that Monday or we out of school that next Monday, we can hit it running. So we want to do it. We'll also have a couple weeks at Christmas. We'll have spring break, Thanksgiving. We have some breaks that we can do some things during the school year. So we'll start planning those things out. Here's a list. There's going to be about 3 pages. You can see all the schools. This is a list of what was done at every school. You can kind of see the different things throughout there. It is kind of, extensive. So there's some of them. There's a few more. And there's the last of them. So you can kind of see what we've done in all those different buildings throughout the summer. Got a few little pictures for you. Picture on the left, the 2 pictures on the left are of Marvin. We redid those bathrooms there. You can see we did the black tile and the white tile all the way up and epoxied the floors. I've heard more comments from custodians of thank you for epoxying the floors over the tile that was there. I will tell you right now, it has changed the smell of those bathrooms greatly. I mean, it's hard to believe, but you got to consider how long that tile's there and what all has been done. So it does change it. It seals it up, and it does change that. And then you can see that's actually in the cafeteria. You can see we painted the walls white, we used the gray color as additions. The colors you see at the top, those are sound panels. Those were already there, so we just reused them. May not fit, but sound panels aren't cheap, and so it's just easier to reuse what we had there. We were looking at possibly recovering those to match or something like that. Pictures there on the right is Wedgeworth. You can see that flooring there. If you haven't been in that building looks totally, totally different. Just the flooring in that building brought it up so much newer and looks so much better in that one.
Mr. Mott?
Yes, ma'am.
Are all of the Prop C jobs, are they all done, completed for the summer?
We have not finished all of them. Some of them we knew weren't. We've got playgrounds that we knew weren't going to be started till, because they got asked for late. By the time lead times and all that, we just started Dunaway's renovation of their playground 2 days ago, and Northside is going to follow it. They were told, the principals were told that at the beginning, you're going to lose the playground in these time frames. They were aware of that. We've had some sound system that for the cafeterias that they could not get the parts in. They're going to do those on the weekends, so we don't affect school. Some of those things, but that is not figured in the 10 million you see. But those projects were not completed because they were out of our hands.
One thing I've heard about is doors. You know, we've done a great job of putting in the safety things, but I know the badge doors, I've heard a little bit about that. And
We've put badge readers in.
I feel like it's a contracted, something we contracted out to someone.
Yes, all the badge reader door handles, which would be at currently TC Wildman, Northside, Shackelford, Dunaway, and then now Coleman, the Hancock building, all has the badge reader door handles. No more, we don't issue you a key anymore. You get a badge, your ID gets you in.
Right.
That is actually, and I'm having more principals ask for that. They see that they've seen a benefit of that. It is a timely thing. Some of it is it has to get in. We have an older, access control company that it's a little harder to integrate with. So we're looking to see what can we do to speed that up, possibly even change to a different access control that's more up to date, more technological savvy. And that is one of the things, we're outgrowing our access control system. As we grow, we're starting to see those things that were fine when we were smaller. Now as we're getting bigger, we're not. And it has caused us some problems. We've fought through all those and everything seems to be going well. But at any moment, we could have a computer go down and we could have that problem. Last year, first day of school, Microsoft decided to do the night before, do an upgrade. Nobody knew Microsoft would do an upgrade and it shut down 4 computers. So we were running around that morning getting them booted. Those are things we can't predict or even see or know what it's doing.
Okay, and the other thing I've heard a lot about is air conditioning.
Okay, so air conditioning is going to be a topic you're probably going to hear about and or as a district I think we need to look at. We do have an energy management policy that says 72 is our nominal for air conditioning, 68 is our nominal for heating, and you can adjust plus or minus 2 degrees for either one of those. We have not necessarily followed that as a district. I will be honest with you. We've had some campuses that can go as low as 66 degrees. You tell me if that's a good, how we need to get into that. You go around our district, Red Oak, 73, you cannot adjust as a teacher. Your room stays 73. You go to Waco, you go to Killeen, you go to Harker Heights, they're 74 plus or minus 1. I'm trying to get Midlothians. So we are on the low end of what it is. With that, you're running your air conditioners 24/7. We've seen one today in an office that ran from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, shut off for 14 minutes in that time frame because they have it at 70 degrees. And that means it'll cool down to 69. In a 100-degree day, you're trying to cool it down to 69, that air conditioner's running and it doesn't stop. And you want to go look at that electric meter, it's running. You can probably get a really good pace on that one because it's running pretty fast. So we're going to run into that as we see some of that. I think that's something we have to look at. We normally run them all, and we're seeing our air stay at 70 to 71. We're seeing our rooms hold at that, but we're still being told it's hot. Some of it is we've changed from you were running on an old energy management system, and you could go down to 67 degrees. But if we go back to policy, we're putting it back at policy on all those we've changed lately.
So that will be saving us money on energy?
Long run, yes, we will. It'll be a lot of savings if we can get all that on. And I even think we probably need to look at that as a whole. If you look at some of the districts around, that's some of what they're doing as well.
And
I
it
do
is
suggest
okay
that.
for them to run fans to make it more comfortable in their classroom?
What's that, ma'am?
It is okay for teachers to run fans?
Yes, ma'am.
To make it more comfortable in their classrooms?
And we've also, with some of the upgrades we've doing, we can now read humidity in classrooms, which we couldn't. And a lot of times, like you hear on the weatherman say, it feels like, because we couldn't read the humidity may have been high in there. Now that we can see it, we can change how the fan speeds run in all those rooms. remove humidity and you're getting a better, cooler temperature than a hotter temperature. So this is a building, some people may know it as a classroom over across from TC Wildman. They may know it as a credit union. They may know it as a tax office. And Ryan calls it Brown Betty. So it's got plenty of many names for it. So the two pictures on the left, those will be a classroom. As of today, it is floored. Everything is working in there. Air conditioning is working, lights are working, all that. The area on the right is the shop. They're working to put the actual electrical in the shop right now. And that'll be the shop for that same side of building. It will have a functioning one single bathroom in it as well. The plumbing will start to go in the first thing in the morning. They were waiting till the flooring went in.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what classrooms this is going to be?
The side on the left, it's a classroom for Mr. Warren. It's a CTE style classroom of some kind.
It's a CT class at Global.
Oh, it's
A global,
okay.
a global, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. So it's a little building right across from the main building, Global, by the parking lot that hadn't been used in, I hadn't been in it. I've been here 7 years and I have not been in that building until December. Oh, now I went to school there. My 7th grade and 8th grade class was in there, but until then I hadn't been in it and I'd been here 6 years and that building had not been touched. So it was in dire needs, but we have brought it back and it is a very nice looking building inside now. Yes, ma'am. Any more questions? Thank you.
Okay, our next report, we report C, informational report on policy EFB local library materials. Mr. Cagle?
Good evening again, Board. As is our normal process when we come to you with proposed policy changes, we're bringing them forth one meeting as an informational report, and then, as you did earlier, the subsequent meeting, hopefully, for approval. So this one has to do with EFB local, which is yet more legislative changes that we are working through. This policy would establish a school library advisory committee, and that committee would review all the library materials of the district as well as any new purchases. And then they would be making a recommendation to the board to approve. There's quite a bit of information about how this committee will work. It'll be very similar to our SHAC committee, our Student Health Advisory Committee. So they will be having a minimum of 2 meetings a year. We are hopeful that they will be meeting more frequently than that. They'll have to keep minutes. All of their meetings will be recorded and available to the public. We are still working on how this committee will be formed. We can do that through administrative guidelines, but we are looking at recommendations from legal counsel as well as our neighboring districts to see how other people are organizing what is being referred to as the SLAC. So again, this is only informational. I will be coming to the board at a subsequent meeting, probably the September meeting, to request approval. No? Ah, that's right. Yes. So many policies. That is correct. This does need to be in place before September 1. Many districts are trying to get it in place before the school year starts just because of the timelines that it is to create the committees, have them come together, review these materials. The review process has to be 30 days prior to the board approval. So it is going to lengthen our library material review process, but it does incorporate parent involvement, which is a big move of our recent legislative session. Any questions? Thank you for that, Ms. McCutcheon.
So we'll have that at our called meeting at the end of the month?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Cagle.
Thank you, Board.
Okay. Report D, annual update on WISD Extracurricular Code of Conduct for the 2025-2026 school year. Mr. Rogers.
Good evening, Board, Ms. McCutcheon. I will be presenting an information report regarding the WISD Extracurricular Code of Conduct for the 25 and 26 school year. Being new in our role, Mr. Gary Bernard, the Fine Arts Director, Mr. Blake Harrison, the CTE Director, and I got together to review our Extracurricular Code of Conduct. Bringing all department leaders together will help ensure shared ownership of this policy and strengthens our cross-department communication and alignment. We did update the extracurricular code of conduct to present a clearer message across all departments. The new revisions eliminated conflicting language between the programs. The revisions also establish a consistent expectation of all extracurricular participants and reinforces that all programs operate under the same standards. We updated and streamlined the language for consistency and readability. This helps ensure the extracurricular code of conduct is easily understood by students, parents, and staff. We also removed redundancy to make it read more concise. Also, we did reorganize the content for clarity and without altering any content. We regrouped related sections together for easier navigation. This should help improve the flow so readers can quickly find the information a little bit better. There were no changes. We didn't make any major changes to any of the core behavioral expectations or the disciplinary consequences. No major changes for the behavior or discipline consequences. The standard students are held to still remains the same today, with both the existing expectations of their behavior, also with the existing consequences. We ensured that all our edits were made in alignment with our district policies, which is our student code of conduct, along with our random drug testing policies, to ensure consistency with the district's policies. This will be something that the three directors will do annually moving forward as needed. If we feel changes are needed to the extracurricular code of conduct, we'll bring that to you at the time in the spring. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Rogers. Okay, our last report will be our informational report for the 2025-2026 WISD Student Handbook. Mr. Cagle?
Board, this will be a very brief overview of the student handbook as you received late this weekend because we've been working diligently through the many changes that we are seeing due to legislative changes. There will be ample time, and I will say that we have put in, this is a quote from the disclaimer, it's on page 5 there, that as we gain greater information from TEA, the commissioner, our legal counsel, there may be some changes, and we will consistently show what changes have been made and the date that that was done so that our families will be able to track those as needed. A few of the highlights here of some of the things that the handbook includes. Notice there's a requirement for us to inform our families about safe firearm storage. We'll have to do that 3 times a year. This is for all parents of registered students. Also, a big one that we are anticipating is class rank and GPA. At this time, it has not changed for us. However, there is guidance coming from the state as they try to standardize this calculation across the state. There is some information about epinephrine, EpiPens, as we usually refer to them. It doesn't really change our practice, although it does use some terminology that may be unfamiliar or make people think that something else is going on. It had historically been an injection system, but now there is a nasal form that Nurse Bousquet is working to get, and it doesn't, again, change how we administer this potentially life-saving medicine, but it is in there and it may cause some concerns or questions. FNG local, which is a very long policy about our grievance procedures, is also expecting a large change that everyone in the state, legal districts, even TEA, that we are all working through. Again, it is the state's attempt to standardize grievance procedures. It does lengthen some of the timelines. It does allow for people bringing a grievance against the district or someone different ways of entering information into that process that they were not able to before. So we, again, as of now, our FNG policy is the same, but it most likely will be changing before the end of the school year, and we will certainly update you on that. And lastly, this is a very brief section or multiple mentions of the extended parental rights that the legislature have extended to our families since the 89th session. You can see this one talks about clubs and organizations where membership now requires parental consent. So we are working through that process and how to get those forms to our parents so that they can do that. Also, health-related services will now require certain parental consents or an opt-out, as it were. And again, our human sexuality instruction, it will require parental consent before it can be given.
I had one question
Yes, ma'am.
about the whole handbook, which is good. I noticed that students are just required to have an 80 average in each of the areas in order to advance a grade. And that just seemed like a really low bar to me to have students with an 80, be able to go up to advance.
Are you talking about
The
Go.
students, say a student's a third grader, and
Uh-huh.
they want to advance because but 80 is the bar for them.
is the minimum? You're saying it's the minimum?
Yeah, it's the minimum, and that just seems very low to me. I would want a student who's gonna go to the fourth grade and advance to be, like really excelling in the third grade. That's just a statement.
Sure. I would need to look at that, Ms. Kriegel. I'm not sure if we're talking about every student or if we're talking about acceleration.
So if we have a third grade student and the parent wishes for them to accelerate to fifth grade and to skip fourth grade, they are administered a test for fourth grade. They have to be at an 80% for the fourth grade TEKS in order to skip fourth grade.
Okay. I just would ask that you read what the policy says, not
Okay.
tonight, but just read over it, because the way
It didn't
I
sound
read
like-
it sounded like they had to have an 80 grade.
No, they have to get an 80 on the advanced test, the test that advances them to fifth grade and makes them skip over fourth. For that fourth grade test, they have to show 80% knowledge of the TEKS of fourth grade in order to be advanced over fourth
Okay,
grade.
maybe I read it wrong, but I
But
just.
we'll
asked
double
her.
check it. Absolutely, we'll double check it.
Thank you.
Ms. Ma, is that not a state requirement?
I believe that is state
It's not a
requirement,
district
yes.
requirement, it's state.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. I just never had noticed it before. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Cagle. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Next item is our informational items. Board, you have that included in your notebook on our monthly updates, maintenance department work orders. So we will move to item 8, which is our consent agenda. We have items A through G. I think it's probably the shortest one I've ever seen. Up for consideration.
Mr. President, I make the motion that we approve items A through G.
A motion by Mrs. Kriegel,
Second.
second by Mrs. Timmerman. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 6-0. And our last item will be a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mrs. Kriegel?
Before we do, I would like to say thank you to everyone who worked throughout the summer to make sure that we'd have a great school year, and to all of the students and staff, I wish you the best. I'm praying for you. And for those of you who had a choice, thank you for choosing WISD. Thank you.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very
Did you
much.
jot on that or Ray?